Welcome everyone, this is Zon with Repo Products. Today's screencast video is on Autodesk FormIt 360, specifically the commands for working with groups, which are located here in the top horizontal toolbar. Inside FormIt 360, I have a model that I've just been playing with, and I have a couple objects that I've drawn on top of the building. A group in Revit is somewhat similar to the same thing as a group in FormIt. For the purposes of FormIt 360, the commands for grouping is here, and it's just a way for you to grab an entity and use it as maybe a repeating pattern and adjust the design. For those who are used to, say, AutoCAD, it's the same thing as a block. So I can click this command here to create a group, and it'll ask me to select the elements that I want to group. So I can pick this, and if you look very carefully, depending on where your cursor sits, it will look at certain objects or faces of the objects. So make sure if I want this whole thing, this shape, that the entire shape is highlighted like this. Left click once, and then click this green check mark, and the group is created. I'm going to undo this for a second, and the reason is because there's other ways to do this as well to create a group. I can tab into the object like this, left click once to select everything, and I can right click. And in here I get a wheel that has contextual commands as well. And one of them, this is move, this is create group, click it, and the group is created. Now that the group is created, for example, maybe this might be a solar panel on the building. You might want to repeat this design. So you can, obviously right click and you can copy if you need to, or you can use the array command, which is a little easier. So if I use the array command, let's go ahead and select that, right click, and use array. And the array command will pop up. This window is contextual and it comes right next to where your cursor is. You cannot move it, by the way. It's just something you have to iteratively put in. So let's say I want 7 of these, and I want a linear array. I could do a radial one as well, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll do one based off of total length. Click OK, pick a point, move my mouse, and you can see that the objects are going to be arrayed in that direction for that distance. Now that that's created, if I need to modify the group, I can either go back to the command for groups, and I can click this edit group, or I can do other things such as making this one a unique object in it for the group. I can also ungroup an entity. I can also ungroup all of them to make them just individual objects. Or I can ungroup the entire model if for some reason I need to take all the objects of the model and turn it into a single group. So in this case, I can select this one as well, and I can right click, and I can also do the same thing. I'll get things like create group, edit the group, and all the other commands that we talked about. So I'm going to click edit the group. What happens is that your design goes into a very light gray mode, so it looks like it's highlighting and emphasizing just the content of the group. And that way you can make adjustments. So maybe I decide to pull this down a little bit, and perhaps I select that edge and pull it up a little bit. And as you can see, it's manipulating the group automatically, and all the other objects that are in that group get adjusted right away, as you can see. So when I'm finished, I hit this little green check mark, this check mark over here, and it will finish the editing of the group. It'll take me out of the group editing mode, and all the objects will be adjusted accordingly. Other commands for groups, as you can see here, you can click make unique. And if I do this, it'll say select the groups that you want to make unique. And so if I pick this one and I pick, say, this one by holding the control key down, hit the green check mark, and they become unique. Okay? So how do I know this? How do I modify this? If I double click this, by the way, a group, it jumps directly into group editing mode. And if I make a design change, say like that, you can see these two are the only ones that got affected. They become a separate group. And I hit the green check mark and I'm done. By the way, since we're working with groups and talking about groups, there should be as well commands for working with groups, and there's content library, there's sharing, and I think there's one more. I don't have it visible at the state, but you can actually look at the names of all the groups as well. So for now, let's continue with some of the other group commands. This one is ungroup. So if I click this and I pick an entity and I hit the check mark, then that becomes just a regular standard object. Again, it's not a group and it's not part of the rest of the group assignments that are over here. Because remember, this one and this one is a single group, and these are part of another group, and this is just an individual entity. Lastly, we've got ungroup all of them. And if I pick and hold the control key down to pick all of them and hit this check mark, then I'm ungrouping every single one individually within a single command. And those are all the commands for how to work with groups. Thank you very much for watching.